Welcome back, dear viewers, and to know more about this very important meeting, we're really delighted to have over the phone Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, the economic expert. Good evening, Dr. Ayman.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Harris.
First of all, as you have, of course, followed the meeting with the Prime Minister, Mustafa Madbouli, and the Managing Director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, how have you followed this meeting and how have you read the situation and the moves and collaborations that were tackled during this meeting?
Well, I think the Egyptian government is now trying to strike a very delicate balance between the requirements of the economic reform in order to carry out really an effective economic reform and to continue with the pace of our present structural and price reform. This is on one side, and the other side is to try to meet the requirements of the social stability and the requirements of taking care of the middle and low income brackets in the society. Egypt is trying to strike the delicate balance between the two ends. We've seen that the Egyptian government succeeded in reducing the budget deficit from around 13.9% of the GDP in 2013 to 6% of the GDP in the present financial year that will end on June 30th, 2025, achieving a primary surplus, which is the revenue minus the expenses without looking at the interest on the debt. The primary surplus is targeted at 3% of the GDP in the current financial year, ending June 30th, 2025. At the same time, Egypt also tried to rationalize its subsidies, whether subsidies on fuel or subsidies on other commodities. But this doesn't mean that it reduces its social insurance expenditure. Actually, the social insurance expenditure increased and has been successively increasing in the previous like 4 or 5 years. This year, I think, in the budget of 2025, the expenditure on the social insurance, including, of course, pensions, including the cash subsidies, including also the special pension, the capital of Karama. The whole package increased from 529 billion Egyptian pounds in the budget of 2024 to, I think, 636 billion pounds in the budget of 2025. So this is the primary goal now, and this goal has been underlined by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi when he spoke several times that yes, we were committed to carry out the financial and the fiscal reforms, the price reforms. At the same time, we are committed to stand by those in need and to continue the social programs, especially the famous and the very important program of the Dignified Life, Hayekari.
So what are the most important measures taken by the Egyptian government to improve the economy?
Well, as I told you, Egypt has been successful in carrying out the structural fiscal reform, reducing the budget deficit, and now Egypt is putting its public debt on reducing scale, on reducing trend. This is one thing. Secondly, regarding our monetary policy, the Central Bank of Egypt has been following a really stringent monetary policy, a very disciplined monetary policy, following suit the major central banks in the world, whether the Federal Reserve in the US or the European Central Bank. We've seen very sharp increases in the interest rates in those two economies. The Federal Reserve increased its interest rate by around 5% from 22 till late 23. Also, the European Central Bank increased the interest rate by around 3.75%. Here in Egypt, we increased the interest rate by 19% because our inflation grew sharply because of the spillovers of the Russia-Ukraine war, especially that we import most of our necessities from abroad. And we know, of course, that the Russia-Ukraine war led to a worldwide inflation wave. So the central bank has been really disciplined and has been stringent in targeting the inflation. And now I think we were able to reduce our inflation from around 35.7% in Feb 2024 to I think around 26% presently, and it's expected to further reduce to around 24% in 2025. This is on the monetary front. Also, if we're talking about improving the economy by improving and encouraging the investment, we have to remember law number 72 of the year 2017 that gives the Egyptian government a lot of prerogatives to improve and to encourage investment, to provide for tax incentives, financial incentives, refunding like half of the price of the land and the price of the utilities for the serious projects, and for the seriously executed projects, granting the golden license to the priority projects. We've seen also a lot of effort by the Egyptian government to promote the investment opportunities, especially in the Suez Canal economic zone, because we always remember that the program of the national projects, the national mega projects, especially the investment in infrastructure and utilities undertaken by the Egyptian government during the last 10 years since President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi took over office in 2014, has provided really a lot of opportunities, especially for investment in production, investment in energy sectors, clean energy sectors like green hydrogen and blue hydrogen, not only in Suez Canal zone and the new administrative capital, but also in the whole of Egypt, because this mega project undertaken by the Egyptian government, it entails establishing like more than 24 generation cities all over the country. So yes, of course, we've seen a lot of effort by the Egyptian government, and that's why the expectations for the growth in 2015 is really optimistic. If we see, I'm sorry, 2025, I'm sorry, is really optimistic. We've seen in the last few days, the IMF has released its report on the expected growth of the economy in Egypt and the Middle East and North Africa, expecting that Egypt, real GDP would grow by 4.2% in 2025, or 4.1% actually in 2025, compared to around 3.2% in the whole world GDP. And we've seen also the improvement in the risk rating of Egypt by Fitch rating from B- to B with a stable outlook. So such reports and such endorsement by the international economic organizations, whether they are financial organizations or rating organizations, really prove the efforts that are undertaken by the Egyptian state.
Yes, Dr. Ayman, also on another note, the managing director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, has also stressed on the role of the private sector in Egypt and its role in actually providing high-quality jobs and enhancing the situation in the workforce, the Egyptian workforce and the Egyptian business market. How do you view and evaluate such a move by Egypt, by the private sector in Egypt?
Well, we've seen a lot of efforts and commitments by the Egyptian government to empower the private sector and support the private sector and provide for a healthy and a good competitive environment to the flourishment of the private sector, not only the local private sector but also the foreign one, attracting foreign investment, as we said, and trying to foster partnerships between the local and the foreign private sector, especially in the promising areas like the Suez Canal zone. Now, we have to remember that the mega project, the national project of improving the infrastructure in Egypt that was undertaken by the Egyptian state during the last 10 years. It provided a lot of opportunities for the private sector. Actually, it was the major force behind the Egyptian growth during the last 10 years. And we have to remember that during the 2020, when the whole world suffered from COVID-19 and worldwide closure, our unemployment rate remained relatively unchanged. The unemployment in Egypt, the unemployment rate in Egypt improved from around 12.7% in 2016 to around 6.7% presently, an improvement of 6% if you multiply it by the official the labor force in the official market, which is 30 million inhabitants. Then Egypt was able to generate or to create new jobs for around 1.8 million inhabitants. And if we endorse the expectation that the informal economy is as big as the formal one, so it's like Egypt was able to generate jobs for around 3.6 million persons. And the investment and the infrastructure program was the main driving force behind such reduction in the unemployment and increase in employment rate. We should also see and examine the report of the IMF and the report of Fitch, especially their expectations regarding the economic growth of Egypt, and we'll find that the investment in infrastructure, the investment in the public transportation, in energy, in housing, in real estate, is one of or constitute the major driver for growth, at least for the coming 2 years.
So thank you so much, Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, our economic expert. Now we'll have a short break and be back.